Hello and good morning. My name is Illa and I am from the Consumer and Investor Office at the Securities Commission Malaysia. Welcome to today's Investment Online series webinar. Today's webinar is on investing with a digital investment management service. First of all, we would like to thank you for taking the time to be here today. We are pleased to have with us today Mr. Ronnie Tan from GAX MD to present on the topic investing with a digital investment management service. Allow me to share a brief background on Mr. Ronnie. Mr. Ronnie is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of GAX MD, a licensed digital investment manager in Malaysia. Mr. Ronnie's role includes strengthening the digital investment management ecosystem, aside from creating a working culture that promotes customer centricity, creative innovation, and collaborative intelligence. He brings with him more than 35 years of experience in the financial, investment, and capital market industry. He has received an honours degree in computer science and accounting from Monash University, Australia in 1984. And he also embraces new experiences and cultures during his travels and appreciates a good read every now and then. Now, please stay tuned till the end of the session, as we will have a short Q&A session followed by a pop quiz session. As mentioned earlier, a total of 1,500 ringgit in online vouchers are up for grabs. Further to this, we would like to invite all participants to take our survey, which the links is shared in our chat window. Next. Please do follow us on our social media platform for useful information on investing and latest updates on our initiatives. Now, I will pass over to Mr. Ronnie to share his presentation on investing with a digital investment management service. Over to you, Ronnie.
Thank you very much, Ella. Well, very good afternoon to all the people attending. Yeah, I think that's a good carrot for all of us to stay through the session. There are a lot of freebies down there. Yeah, so okay, without further ado, let me just start off. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay, what I'll do is before I touch on the MYTHEO, a very quick introduction on who we are. Next slide, next. Okay, basically MYTHEO is the name of our product, is the name of our robo-advisory product, otherwise known as a digital investment management service. MYTHEO first was originated from Japan. They call it THEO, and it's basically THEO was first launched in back in 2016 in Japan, and by a company called Money Design. They pioneered the first robo-advisor back in 2016 in Japan. So back in 2019, both MYTHEO and the Civic Group of Company collaborated and formed a JV code and applied for a license from Securities Commission, and hence MYTHEO was curated from there. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, to date, the whole group is managing in AUM size based on about USD 800 million, spread over 110,000 over users. Next slide. Okay, I think it's important that I think the SC have presented some very good slides during the initial stage, telling people on the scams and all these things that are on the lookout. So it's important to have create an ecosystem of governance and trust. As I said earlier, MYTHEO is actually a licensed product from Securities Commission, and the funds that all the investment and assets are all kept under a trustee, and as they never ever deposit money into an individual account, and that's where it's very important that the money and the assets are kept in the trustees. Yeah, and the other thing is all these are being managed by professional fund managers, and more importantly, the infrastructure in terms of the cyber security, and all this have to be really audited and kept in a very well structured data center. Yeah. Next page, please. Yeah. Okay, so so the main objective of MYTHEO, being a digital investment management, is really try to encourage enable and empower all the rakyat to build your wealth at your fingertips. Yeah, and we have won numerous awards for the past 1.5 years. So I'm glad to touch more about it as we move on. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, and I think that what I will do is before I touch on is I have a little a short video, just a very brief introduction on the product. Can we play that, please?
Whether you're an artist, a working professional, a grandparent, or anything else, there's a common thread that ties all of us together. Our wishes, our goals, our desire and hope for a better future, a better self. There's always something to work towards, something to look forward to, something to pursue. When it comes to moments, from the rewarding ones to the challenging ones, to everything in between, there's meaning in every one of them, no matter how big or seemingly small. But if we're always chasing after the next moments and the next big things, we lose sight of the ones we already have, right here. So in your journey to your dreams, trust that things will fall into place. Turn your what-ifs into why-nots. Hold out faith for what's next tomorrow. But most importantly, hold on to what's meaningful today. Because the moments we invest in now are the ones that will matter most. Start investing today with MYTHEO, your digital investment companion.
Hello. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, for playing that video. I think to really sum it up, it's so important that the importance of having investment. Okay, and if you look at the video, the message that we're trying to tell to inform the public is that whether you're young adults, millennials, who has just started to save and grow wealth, or you are an experienced professional in the midst of accumulating wealth and contributing, working towards retirement savings, or even when you're a retiree, you're consuming and distributing wealth. So it's very important to think about it. And very often, if you look at it, all of us are so occupied with our day-to-day routine, okay, and so important, and they really have overlooked the importance of building wealth and investment. I think that's where MYTHEO comes in. We're saying that let us handle all the nitty-gritties, the hassle of investment on your behalf. Yeah, so that's the main that's the main objective of MYTHEO. Okay. Next page, please. Yeah, okay. As I've said earlier, okay, it's very important to look at why investment is important. I think all of us are pretty aware of it. As I mentioned earlier, is we are trying to reach our financial goals, whether it's buying a home, preparing for marriage, or preparing for your children education, and really towards your retirement and earning regular income to complement your day-to-day needs, and also in terms of growing your wealth. Next point. Yeah, okay. And I think very often people look at it in, especially during current period with low interest regime. People would thought that, well, keeping cash is is a safest thing to do. What I'm trying to tell to articulate here is actually keeping cash may not be the best thing to do. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay to keep some cash for the rainy days, but I think we have to really think about putting a a certain amount of money into investment. And if you look at the statistics over the years, yeah, you have to just looking at it, putting in cash, okay, the return. Let me see, the return is about 34.7%. And if you put into the equity market, like the KL Stock Exchange, okay, the return is easily 76%, okay, and you have inflation going up to about 35%, okay, and obviously MYTHEO, you're saving 186%, okay. So the important point that we want to inform the public is there will be noises and blips along the years, yeah. So, and if you look at it, for example, like there's a big dip in 2008, yeah, 2007 and 2008. That's where the global financial crisis is. Okay, there'll be a lot of panic. Some people are get worried, and they may not be investing, and they get out. Yeah, and even during the SARS case and the H1N1 case, you know, so all these are blips and noises. So what we're saying that it's so important that consider long term, put in and not to worry or not to be also influenced by huge return during a certain period or when there are downs, you know, so consistently invest over a long term and you will see the return. Right? Next page, please. Okay, so now, so how do we achieve all this? How can MYTHEO or a digital investment management platform help you? Okay, and as I said, all of us are very busy with our day-to-day routine. Okay, and just too time consuming to look at the economic news and trying to understand the trade war, what's happening, you know, the political environment, the interest rate regime, so on and so forth. So in any of this robo advisor or digital investment management, it is actually an automated discretionary portfolio management that invests in exchange traded funds with cover a huge range of asset classes. I'll talk about it in a bit detail in as I move on. So the important thing to look at is the two words here, a discretionary portfolio management investment. What is that? What is that actually? And what is ETFs? So next slide, please. Yeah, okay. I think the important thing is this myth of answering, saying that is robo-advisor a little black box that we can trust, that run by itself and no human interaction at all? No. What really is important for us to understand, okay, a platform like MYTHEO is actually trying to use the collective effort, the collective intelligence, the collective capabilities of machine and human. Yeah, and we know that machines are good at processing large amount of data very quickly. They're able to optimize patterns, recognizing patterns, and there's no bias, there's no judgmental thing. Yeah, and if it doesn't make errors. Yeah, so we use machine for what it's good at. On the other hand, okay, the machine need to be taught. It need to be monitored. That's where the human comes in, trying to build, because the human need to educate the black box, need to design and formulate an algorithm. Okay, so human is involved here in deciding the major objectives, the economic rationale, and what are the risks and what are the returns, the necessary judgment, and all these are put into the algorithm. Okay, and from then the algorithm, which is driven by the machine, it's been optimized. As I mentioned earlier, they're able to tune out data, recognizing bad data, okay, and trying to make a certain judgment. So at the end of the day, a robo-advisory platform is really a it really comprised of using machines, AI, okay, algorithm, and being monitored by a human. For example, like in MYTHEO, we actually have a investment management committee, yeah, that looks at it, and they're human, by the way. Yeah, the committee is human, okay, and they're all fund managers, professional fund managers, looking at this, cross-checking that things are in line. Yeah, okay. Next, please. So next one is so very briefly. I'm not sure of the audience. Some may be very familiar with the ETFs, what ETFs are, and some may not. So for the benefit of the rest, I'll just go through very quickly. Obviously, if I'm going to talk a lot of ETFs, it could be another whole afternoon. But to give you a flavor, okay, ETFs is nothing more than a set of a pool of assets, underlying assets. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with unit trust. Okay, so ETF is a form like unit trust, but the only difference is highly liquid, and it is traded in the stock exchange where you can buy and sell. Yeah, so for example, like we have a S&P index fund. Okay, this index fund, by buying one lot or one unit of the ETF, you're actually buying into a huge a large amount of companies comprising, for example, Amazon, Netflix, Disney, so on and so forth. So you're buying a basket of stocks. Yeah. So and this is traded in the stock exchange. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Okay. And why ETF? As I mentioned, is highly liquid, so we can do a trading in and out. For example, like a platform like MYTHEO. Okay, what you invest in today, technically you could redeem the next day. Yeah. So the investment that you put in today, technically you can withdraw your money the following day. So in order to allow you to redeem those your assets or your money, it must be highly liquid, because we need to buy and sell the assets very quickly to meet your needs. Okay, and it's universal. Okay, what it means is that it comprises, as I just mentioned, it comprises of many, for our case that we have 10,000 companies. When you buy an ETF in MYTHEO, you're actually investing in 10,000 companies, and these are all global companies. Even though our ETFs that we purchase are those listed in US, but doesn't mean that all US companies. It's just all global. You have companies in Europe, in China, in Southeast Asia, in Japan, so on and so forth. Yeah, uh, and and the ETFs are very transparent. You know the closing prices, you know their performance, and it's all very visible and transparent. And the other more important thing is it's cheap. Yeah, it's cheaper than the rest of the other instruments. Next page, please. Next, please. Now, okay, so having this basic fundamental in place, okay, so now I'm going to dive into the mechanics, what happened behind the scene with MYTHEO. If you don't mind, I'm just using MYTHEO as a guide to explain the robo-advisor, sort of a mechanism behind it. Yeah, so behind the scene in under MYTHEO, when you first get on board, yeah, you answer 5 questions. Okay, the reason is that 5 questions, as you can see from my original the video and the slides that I talk about, there are many segments of customer. Okay, there are many, as an individual evolved along the along your life cycle. Is it the ecosystem of your life? You started off at 21 years old and move on towards retirement. Each stage of your life have different investment needs. Different investment needs, different risk profile, different objectives. Okay, so the purpose of answering these 5 questions is try to gauge the customer profiling. And under MYTHEO, it is not one size fits all. We do not say that one portfolio, when I construct one portfolio, it applies for everybody in the industry or in the market. No, because we know that each individual has its own needs, have its own preference, have its own risk profile. That's hence customer profiling is very key regardless of the investment objective. So by answering 5 questions, our algorithm will structure a portfolio that is optimized according to your persona. Okay, and the way we structure it, we call it an omakase. Yeah, for those that enjoy the fine cuisine, the Japanese fine cuisine, you probably understand the omakase. Omakase meaning that you leave it to the chef, the chef, which is MYTHEO, to construct a nice meal for you. Yeah, leave it to us to construct that optimized portfolio. So by answering 5 questions on your personal profile, we construct a portfolio that consists of growth, income, and inflation hedge. And what is growth, what is income, and what is inflation hedge? Okay, there are certain proportion that is required to achieve your objective according to your risk profile. Okay, growth. Growth is really when you need to grow your assets. You're willing to take a higher risk. So this growth is really investing into equities, okay, of growth company, higher return but higher risk. Yeah, and the other one is income. Income is required to balance your needs. Some may say that I need income, I need dividends, a regular income to complement what I'm having today, a regular income over a period of time. Okay, and this is especially required during as you move towards your retirement age. Yeah, and what about inflation hedge? The main purpose of inflation hedge is really to protect your assets from the erosion of inflation. All of us, inflation is creeping up. You know, your value of dollar or your value of ringgit will get depreciated over time. You know, so how do we protect? You know, by asking questions like, you know, so we need to protect your value, your assets, and what are these things that are in there? Okay, which I'll talk about it later. Yeah, so well, I might as well touch it here. Yeah, inflation hedge really investing into commodities. Okay, commodities, gold, oil, silver, REITs. Okay, these are the construction. Okay, and this really is trying to hedge against your assets because assuming one of the question is what's your asset size like? Okay, if your asset size is huge, okay, then the inflation hedge percentage will be slightly higher because we know that we have to protect what you already have in terms of your pool of money. So we need to, let's say you answer that you have a 500,000 assets. So we need to protect your 500,000 against inflation. Okay, so is it really a combination of growth, income, and inflation? And how it works is we have 231 possible construction, which means that there are 231 possibility. A person of a certain criteria after answering 5 questions, he could have, MYTHEO could allocate 60% in growth, 30% in income, 10% in inflation, total up 100%. So it's a nice mix of growth stocks, a nice mix of dividend income, and a nice mix of inflation hedge. Okay, another person, maybe his age is almost about 50s or 60s, could have growth, 30% growth, or 60% income, and remain 10% in inflation hedge. So it is really customized according to your needs. Okay, and one of the flexibility is, if this is by omakase, which means MYTHEO takes over that function for you. As I say, this is a discretionary mandate. What it means is we are going to manage on your behalf. We are going to do the necessary buy and sell assets, shifting from growth to income to inflation, all for you. Okay, means that you just rest, you just take a rest, chill out, okay, and leave all this nitty-gritty to MYTHEO. Okay, and how it does is every month we look at your portfolio, look at the algorithm, look at the happenings, the data, the fundamental data, the performance of the market, okay, and so on and so forth. A lot of things are working behind the scene, and optimize it and rebalance it accordingly for your needs. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And for example, like we could have created in my example, just example is 60-30-10. Okay. However, you may choose to say that I want to be less conservative. I want to be more conservative. Instead of 60% growth, I want to change it down to 30% growth. You could do that. It allows you the flexibility to slide it out and change the percentage of your allocation according to your needs. Yeah. Or you could say that I have one portfolio that is omakase, that is again, a third portfolio with different combination. You could have a second portfolio saying that I want 100% growth because I want to take more risks. And the other one, the third portfolio could be another combinations. So all in all, you could construct up to 6 portfolio, okay? And you can switch them around. There's no cost involved. Okay, so that's how the MYTHEO as a robo advisory advisor is doing behind the scene. Yeah, as I say, important. It does a rebalancing, it does optimizing. Okay, and all this, as I say, because it is algorithm driven. There's no emotional attachment. Okay, there's no bias. Means that doesn't mean that one day I wake up, I say that I like this ETFs, I buy. Okay, or because Elon Musk says something about Tesla, I buy. No, it doesn't behave that way. It is not biased. There's no judgment. There's no emotional attachment. It's all based on data. Okay, concrete data. Okay, and economic factors. Okay, now the whole universe, if you appreciate today, under MYTHEO, again, we invest in ETFs, mainly ETFs, and they're listed in US stock exchange. Yeah, and when I say listed in US stock exchange, doesn't mean that it's investing directly into US companies, because there are many other companies that invest that are listed in the stock exchange in US. So technically, that's because the US market is highly liquid and highly efficient, and that's the logical place to invest in. Okay, so in under MYTHEO, and if you can appreciate the whole market space in US, they're close to about 6,000 over ETFs. Okay, so the algorithm will from 6 down to our own universe, our own MYTHEO investment universe of 59 ETFs. As I say, these 59 ETFs have a very good diversification over asset classes. When I say asset classes, meaning that you have some technology stocks, the growth stocks, okay, some assets are in the income, some assets are in the inflation hedge, okay, and obviously we diversify over many countries. It's not a sort of a one silo concentrated country, okay. And by doing that, when you move across over countries, you're actually diversification your currency exposure. As you can appreciate, you're actually using your ringgit we actually convert into US. But when when we invest in all the asset class over countries, okay, in the essence, you're actually diversifying over a wide range of currency. Yeah. So our winners, we move it down to 59 ETFs, and at any one time, not all the 59 ETFs will be activated. Okay, to date, as of now, we have 31 ETFs that have been activated. Because of that, and the rest could be activated, could be removed, could be reduced, could be increased the weightage, depending, again, as I said, depending on various fundamental data and factors. Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's how MYTHEO as a robo advisor works. Yeah. Next slide, please. I'll take some questions later on. Yeah. guys. Yeah. So okay, this is a glimpse. This is a glimpse of the how it works. Okay, and typically it takes you between 5 to 15 minutes to get on board. Yeah, you register yourself, you put your money in, okay, and the whole process typically takes you about 15 minutes to open an account. Okay? And if you 12 noon, your money will be automatically invested tonight when the stock exchange of US open at 9:30 at night. Yeah, so the trading engine is trading round the clock. Yeah, round the clock, and when the market open, it straight away trade and invest in. So these are the typical 5 questions. Okay, as I say, because this persona will give you a 40%, 30%, and 26% sort of a combination. Okay, and what is important is as before you accept this portfolio, you have an opportunity to look at the performance, the past performance. How did MYTHEO perform? If MYTHEO would have been launched back then, how did it perform 10 years ago? Okay, and there is also a projection moving 10 years from today, 5 years from today, 15 years from. What is a projected income? I stress, it's a projected, it's not a guaranteed income, it's a projected income. Are you getting to? Okay, and well, as I said, you show a dip in 2008 and 2019. That's where the global financial crisis is. Okay, and if you can see some chart investing during this period and it shoot up, and the other way around, okay, you better be careful. Yeah, you know. So I think these are the things that as you go into the app, there are many more features. Many features that you can even do a simulation. What if I put 200? What if I put a 10,000 here with regular deposit of 100? What would be my end goal in 5 years from today, 10 years from today? Yeah. So those things I won't go through, but and that's all in the app. Next page, please. Next, please. Yeah. Okay. Okay. As I said, you look at it is highly, and I stress that it's highly diversified across multiple assets, over multiple countries too. And I think that as important efforts of MYTHEO, at least in Malaysia, is really to make it to empower and enable everybody to invest. We are trying to promote financial inclusiveness. Yeah, and this can only make possible if we make it very affordable. Okay, affordable so that everybody have a chance to invest. And this portfolio or this algorithm that we have designed in conjunction with a Japanese partner, they are all institutional branded. Means that they are actually managed and driven for institutional clients. Yeah, so it is not. So we are saying that in MYTHEO for a DIM like us, we're trying to bring in international practice of a portfolio to make it affordable to people at the ground level. Okay, like today, as a promotional, okay, we are saying that you can start investing as little as 100 ringgit. Yeah, but 100 ringgit is really not meaningful. In my view, it's not really meaningful, but it's important for people to come in, try it out, get that confidence, and start to put in money as you step up. Yeah. So and one of the important thing is also fractional shares. Okay, what it means is fractional is with 100 ringgit, because all these ETFs, okay, in one ETF will cost you 100, could be 100 or 200 US dollar. Okay, and because we allow fractional shares, which means by 100 ringgit or 5,000 ringgit, whatnot, you can actually own a fraction of the ETFs. Okay, but if you put more money in, obviously you can own the whole lot of the ETFs. Yeah, so this is really making it very affordable, and the commission and the mention fees charged is extremely affordable, ranges from 0.5% to 1% a year. Yeah. So, okay, back to this one, equity. Okay, as I just mentioned, it cut across regional, country, factor-based means we look a lot of like the correlations, smart beta, okay, and a lot of other factors to decide which are the right ETFs. And the fixed income, you have government bond, corporate bond, high yield bond, preferred stocks, T-bills, and so on and so forth. And real assets, you have commodity, real assets, commodity is like gold, silver, and so forth, and and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, recently, okay, and so we also have part of our one or two of our ETFs are actually in the ESG space too. Okay, ESG space, and that seems to be a good ETFs to work on. Yeah, in view of what's happening in the world and US, so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please. Move on. Yeah. So yeah, so those ETFs, as I say, they are then example, okay, example into three functional portfolio. What the ETFs, what contribute growth will be put into the growth bucket. What contribute income will put into the income bucket. What contribute inflation hedge will be put into the inflation hedge bucket. Move on next. And by this, as I said, as of today, okay, the 31 ETFs that has been activated, okay, we could go up to 59, but today's signals and the algorithm says that 31 is activated. Okay, the 31 activated is out of this 31, 11 ETFs is in growth, 10 ETFs is in income, and 10 is in inflation hedge. What are these ETF? How are they performing? Okay, all this, when you open up your app, it shows you the performance of each individual ETFs, how it perform, and it's also called mark to market on the daily closing price. So in actual fact, you know your performance of each ETF, your portfolio every day. Yeah. So this is constructed into comprise up to 31. Yeah. Move on. Yeah. As I say, this 31 look at the 4 algorithms at work. Okay, and this is also one of the uniqueness of MYTHEO. It is not a single algorithm. It is actually 4 algorithms working hand in hand. Okay, as you can appreciate, there's an algorithm working in growth that based on smart beta, volatility, valuation, price to book value, the momentum, okay, all this taken into consideration, yeah, and there's also an algorithm to pick the right ETFs for income, again, based on various the dividend yield, what's the inflation interest rate, right, you know, and how's the credit scoring like, on so on and so forth, yeah, and then on the inflation hedge. The inflation will look at correlation, so that you know the correlation will look at the CPI, for example, in Malaysia, comparing the Malaysian CPI, and then the fourth portfolio, as I mentioned, is actually the personalized portfolio. Okay, what sort of percentage should I allocate to each individual? 60, 30, 10, 50, 30, 50, 30, 20, or whichever combination depending on your persona. Yeah, so there are 4 algorithms working hand in hand behind the scene. Yeah, and this is only possible if you have technology, the so-called machine supported. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Okay. And one of the important point is the AI assist. Yeah. That maybe next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. It's also important that we look at data, and we have studied the market for the past. As I say, the people managing this. Okay, the people managing this are all experienced fund manager. They take a lot of things into consideration, and they've been teaching the algorithm, teaching the machine, inputting very key things. But some data need to be extracted very quickly in the market. And if you look at it in the when you want to base on a performance of a company, the P&L, those are usually very late. The market would probably have factored those data in there, before so when the results are out, they're actually quite outdated. Yeah. So the goal of AI assist is really to comb through sentimental analysis. What it means is, what are the people talking about? Okay. Obviously, we don't go for fake news and whatnot. We look at Bloomberg, Reuters, and professional people talking about economy, talking about sectors, the various economic activities, and we comb through sentimental keywords, okay, keywords, and analyze the keywords and group it all together and give a scoring to try to have a feel of the market. Okay, and the fundamental thing is all this is, it is always important to manage risk rather than managing returns. Returns are very difficult to predict. Risk is actually relatively easier to predict. Yeah. So the important thing is minimize risk. By minimize risk, that translate into better returns. Yeah. So there is this code called AI assist working in conjunction with the rest. Okay. Next one. Next, please. Okay, so I think I have only 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes left. I would prefer to leave some to Q&A. So I think the differentiation is really talking about a large pool of varieties, okay? And that's a profiling algorithm that customized according to each individual needs, okay? And that's omakase and the SI assist. So some people, for those people who are more familiar, may ask, my gosh, MYTHEO, you have the largest pool of ETF in the industry. As of today, you have 31 ETFs as compared with others, which is much lesser in amount. Okay, so I think the important thing to stress is the ETFs that we've chosen is not because we want to have a huge pool or not because we want to have a small pool, because the algorithm says that we need to have a very good optimized ETFs that can balance growth, inflation, and income. Okay, because in each, assuming I've only 3 or 5 ETFs, I can't diversify too much. I don't even need a machine to do that if it's only 3 or 4 or 5 ETFs. Yeah, but because I have a reasonable pool of ETFs within, and it is segregated into 3 portfolio, I have data, I have performance to optimize and choose and balance and diversify and to balance off the risk and return. And the good thing about it is, as I said, these are all machine driven. Okay, next one. Okay, this is just to talk how affordable it is, huh? So if you look at other products, there's a upfront fee, so on and so forth. Yeah, so MYTHEO, and just like same as the other robo advisory, is very relatively very affordable. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, it's 0.5 to 1%, and the rest are all absorbed by GAX MD. Yeah, GAX MD is, as I said, is a company name that owns MYTHEO. Next slide. Okay, and the market outlook. Okay, I thought that to add in a little flavor in our afternoon, it's really looking at the 4 major challenges that all of us, especially the COVID pandemic, activity, it's not a good thing to be in now. Yeah, so all these challenges, the 4 major challenges is the uncertain economic outlook for Malaysia, and as well as the regional and the risk of currency fluctuation, the rising US Treasury yield environment, and the risk of inflation. And as all of you know, the interest rate is moving down, and down. Hopefully, we won't hit a negative, inflation yield curve. Yeah. So I think it's important that looking at a portfolio, okay, we have to match answering these four challenges. How MYTHEO actually act in some behind the scene, looking at it, looking at our assets, the asset classes to balance and to address each of this. Yeah, each of these are four challenges. So you can just imagine, as an individual, if you're trying to manage this yourself, looking at various dimensions, it's going to take you so much time that you cannot even focus on your own work. And that's where a digital investment management robo also comes in. It does all this automatically for you at a fraction of the cost, very affordable. Okay, while you focus to chase after your goals, your dreams, and your work, let MYTHEO handle this, or any robo advisor handle this. Yeah, next one. Yeah, next page. Next page. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm running short of time. Yeah, basically, I think that advice, SC has already given a lot of this good advice in the many slides. In fact, I was most impressed by the way they communicated through videos, and the contents are, so this really is really a summary, it's a summary of what they just said, so always look for long term, okay, and do regular savings. Means that if you have X dollar, don't put one whole lump sum at one time, stagger it off so that you can and enjoy the ups and downs, and never ever time the market. Okay, don't time the market, and because you can never ever beat the market. So again, MYTHEO, it is an investment platform. It is not an investment object or commodities. It's not like Bitcoin where you can put in money and you want to buy and sell the same day. It is an investment professional service. In actual fact, you are saying that you're engaging a professional investment service to manage your wealth, yeah, your investment, yeah. So it's not meant for trading in and out and hope to get a 30% up within 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. It's a long term, right? So yeah, I think that there's a chart down here that where most of the people with very emotional decision, looking from caution, greed, pessimism, and desperation, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I think next slide. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that because all you folks are so nice, so to complement back SC promotional thing, we're saying that today we are going to people that join in today will have three management fees, 3 months waiver. Okay, and if there's a reward and a referral reward, which is a top up of $5, and so on. So I think you can look at all these things. Through our website, so there's a promotional down there. And next one, I think that's my next slide. Yeah, okay. So I think that that ends my presentation, and I prefer to leave it to some Q&A. Yeah, and obviously there are many more things that I can touch on, and I look forward to an opportunity at the in future to talk more in greater detail. Yeah. So in the meantime, maybe we will go into the Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this informative
Yeah.
presentation. Okay, so let us give you some time to pick some questions before we move on to the pop quiz.
Okay, I think that I'm just looking at it. Many more questions coming in. Yeah. Okay. First of all, is there an inverse ETF included in MYTHEO bucket? Okay. So the answer is no. We do not go for leverage or inverse ETFs. Because leverage ETFs and inverse ETFs are on a riskier kind of instrument. So MYTHEO exclude this. Yeah. Uh, okay, and to what extent the investing in MYTHEO is protected? Yeah. So this question is, as I said, as I mentioned earlier, all the money, all the money that you put in and all the ETFs that are invested in are all kept under trustee. Okay, it's kept under trustee, and as far as GAX MD or MYTHEO is concerned, we cannot touch a single cent. Yeah, so all your assets that is both in ringgit and in US are all kept in trustee. Yeah. Okay, and the next one is, how often is our portfolio updated per market fluctuation? I think that's a very good point. As I said, key number one, which I forgot to mention, uh, robo-advisor, at least in the context of MyTeo, it is a passive management, a passive investment. It is not an active management. Okay, what it means is passive investment. We do not react on data immediately and look at the noises and blips and act immediately. We don't do that because it is a passive investment. Okay, so we look at looking into consistency. Okay, looking at data on a longer term basis, and as I say, we do not do it on every other day. Okay, what happened is every month end, we look at it and do the necessary rebalancing. Okay, but the rebalancing doesn't mean that we will drop ETFs or add in new ETFs. It's really rebalance each. Okay, the question is how is dividend treated? Very good question too. All the dividend that is paid by under the income portfolio or even the equity one, all this income dividend are reinvested into your portfolio automatically. Yeah, so we reinvest. Obviously, when you want to redeem, you could redeem it out if you want to. But by default, when there's a dividend payment, it is invested into your ETFs. Yeah, so so it's automatically reinvested. Uh, Does MyTeo ETF portfolio include cryptos? Not today. Okay, and as I say, it's something that we are a passive management. Okay, and it is really a long-term investment. Today, in terms of cryptocurrency, the inverse ETF, leverage ETFs, as of today, we stay away from this. Yeah, we stay away from this so-called exotic product. Okay. Okay. There's obviously there's one competitive question. How does MyTeo differ from Stashaway on the other robo advisor? Now, I think that this question. Okay. The way I look at it, each of us have its own space, have its own strategy, has its own algorithm to base on. Okay, so only time will tell. Okay, but it's good that to have, in terms of competitor, it's good to have them and a few others, because the main intention is really we all share the common objective of educating the public, okay, and promoting financial inclusiveness, letting people understand why investment is important and giving options. However, what I can say is I can only comment on MyTeo, because it's not fair for me to say to comment on the competitor, because each of us have different strategy and different space. Okay, what I can say is our uniqueness, as I mentioned earlier on, we have a larger pool of ETFs that give us more avenue. okay, to give choices, to diversify our portfolio. And by doing that, we are able to customize, okay? As I just mentioned, some people, some investors may decide to have 100% growth portfolio. Example, this is an example. So if I have only one or two ETFs in my growth portfolio, okay, then there's no diversification. There's no optimization because there's only one or two ETFs. But if I have 10 ETFs, it allows the flexibility for an individual to choose a particular portfolio, and yet there's an algorithm with AI working behind the scene. So in our strategy, we believe in giving good diversification, a good diversification across multiple asset classes. Okay, growth, may be it in growth, inflation, or income. So this will give a very good a good asset mix. Okay, and so okay, what's the average return of MYTHEO? Okay, let me just okay. As of the first quarter, as of this year, 2021, okay, our 1 year performance, as I said, there are three streams, three portfolio, three functional portfolios. Okay, in terms of the growth portfolio over 1 year, as of 2021 1 year, our growth portfolio return is 42.67%. Our income is 0.35%. Our inflation hedge is 21.67%. Yeah. So it really depends on each individual persona, as I mentioned. Yeah. So if you have chosen, okay, if you have chosen 100% growth, then your return is 42.67%. And if you have chosen 100% income, then your return is 0.35%. Okay. And if it's 100% inflation, is 21.67%. Okay. So what we've done is just now, as I mentioned, we actually optimize it depending on persona. So assuming a very typical one will be 40, 40, 20, typical, yeah? 40, 40, 20 mixture. If it's a 40, 40, 20, your return is about 21.57% for the year, yeah? So that's for 1 year. And what about this year, the first 3 months? How did we do? The first 3 months, the same scenario. For the 3 months of this year, 2021, our growth is 8.16%. Our income is a negative 0.84%. Okay, and our inflation hedge is a 5.08%. Right? So if you look for the first 3 months, you average it out, okay, under 40-40, you're closing in about, for the first 3 months, about 5% return. Yeah, when you consolidate these three portfolio, as I say, it really depends on the composition. And why income is negative, as all of us know, is because of the high yield yield curve. Okay, and when the interest, as you can appreciate, as the interest goes up, the bond, we have bonds and corporate bonds and treasury bonds and all these. Okay, the bond will the price will go down. Yeah, but then again, these are the current situation, but we should not be worried about it. Just let it run. Okay, and don't go in and out, just continue running it. And because if it's a good mixture of optimizing, okay, even there's a negative in the income, but that is being compensated by good return in growth and a good return in inflation. Okay, so that's how MYTHEO works, in really combining it in a very optimum way, depending on each individual risk profile and persona. Right? Let me look. What's the next question? Is there a minimum cap to invest in MYTHEO? Okay, our original intention is to have you ringgit 500. Okay, But as I said, today, because of a certain promotional, we want to encourage people to come in. We say that you are able to allow, come in to invest at a minimum amount of ringgit, 100 ringgit, 100. Yeah, but I strongly suggest that move your amount out, because 100 ringgit is not really a meaningful investment. Yeah, but grow the confidence, have a regular deposit. Let's say you may put 500 first and every month top up with 100 ringgit and ride with the curve. Yeah. Okay. Do you invest in Sharia compliance today? No, we don't have. It's not Sharia compliance, even though they are. I won't say there's compliance, even though they have certain principle behind it, like ESG, and we do have ESG, but we wouldn't claim that our MYTHEO is totally Sharia. As of today, we do not. We are not Sharia compliance. Yeah. So, do you have a cash management where you pay interest on unutilized funds? Okay, all these products we are evaluating and looking at all the options, because we want to see that would people want us to manage pure cash, or would they want us to manage cash putting into investment products? So some of these things are we are all thinking through and seeing what is the right product for the right customer for the right time, right?
Hi, sorry, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Maybe you can take one more question, and we need to move on to the pop quiz.
Yeah. I think that what are those ETFs mainly from US? Yes, today all our ETFs are all listed in US Stock Exchange. Yes, they are. Okay, and the charges is 0.5. Okay, I think that's about all. There are many more questions, but we just in view of time, we'll leave it as it is. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, again for joining us today, and thank you, GAX MD, for speaking in our webinar today. Also remember, before investing, always check the SC Investor Alert list and always deal with licensed or registered entities and/or individuals. Stay safe, stay at home, and if you need to be out, always maintain physical distancing. Hope to see everyone again at our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay safe. Yeah.